I fell in love with my private chef. Chapter 1. The Arrival. Elena Knight stepped out of the car, her heels crunching against the gravel of the secluded, 5-star retreat hidden deep within the valley. As she took in the quiet beauty of her surroundings, she felt a mixture of relief and unease. The relentless demands of her high-powered career had drained her, and although she told her friends she was here to recharge, she knew she was here for more. She was hiding from something. Upon checking in, the resort manager, a tall, no-nonsense woman named Margot, informed her that she'd have a private chef during her stay. "He's quite the talent," Margot said as they walked to her villa. "He's here just for you, so don't hesitate to make special requests." Eleanor smiled, brushing off the details with an absent nod. She was here to get away from the constant noise in her life, not to make demands. Chapter 2. A Midnight Encounter. The first night at the retreat, Eleanor found herself wide awake, restless in the silence of her villa. She decided a late-night walk might settle her nerves. The air was crisp, and the pathways dimly lit as she wandered through the garden, contemplating her life and her choices. Just then, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was a man leaning casually against the stone wall near her villa, appearing both surprised and amused by her presence. "Eleanor, I wasn't expecting anyone to be wandering around at this hour." Julian startled but quickly recovers. "Just familiarising myself with the place. Midnight's a good time for clarity." Eleanor. "Or secrets. You're my chef, right? A chef with insomnia?" Julian, smirking. "And you're my client with too many questions. I'll be sure to have breakfast ready by dawn, Miss Knight." He gave her a half smile before disappearing into the shadows, leaving her more intrigued than before. The encounter had been brief, but she felt a strange energy in his presence. A mixture of charisma and something darker, something guarded. Chapter 3. The Breakfast Interrogation. The next morning, she found herself curious, wondering what breakfast by dawn would entail. True to his word, the table was laid with an elaborate spread that had her favourites. French toast with a side of berries, fluffy scrambled eggs with a hint of truffle, and fresh orange juice. When Julian arrived to check in on her meal, she decided to pry a little. "Eleanor, French toast and truffle eggs. Not a typical combination. How did you know I'd like this?" Julian grins. "A good chef does his research. I make it a point to know my clients' tastes." Eleanor, impressive. "But you seem to know my tastes a little too well, almost like you've studied me." Her gaze sharpens. Julian shrugs nonchalantly. "Observing people is part of the job. Food is personal. It should speak to a person's character." She couldn't tell if he was just a good chef or if there was something more behind those words. It was as if he was telling her something about herself that even she wasn't fully aware of, but she brushed it off, not wanting to get too close. Chapter 4. Unease and Curiosity. As the days passed, Julian continued to show up at just the right moments, his words always hinting at more than he revealed. He served her favourite meals without asking, prepared afternoon tea at the exact time she needed a break, and every evening his dishes seemed to touch a memory she couldn't place. One evening, she finally confronted him. "Eleanor, it's funny, you cook all my favourites, dishes that take me back to particular memories. It's almost uncanny." Julian, carefully. "Just a matter of research. I make it a point to know my clients' tastes." Eleanor. "But your research seems more like intuition. It's almost as if you're trying to get to know me beyond the food." Julian smirks. "And what if I am?" Their eyes met, and she felt a strange sense of vulnerability under his gaze. It wasn't just food, and it wasn't just service. There was something personal about it. Something he wasn't saying. Chapter 5. An unexpected arrival on her 5th day at the retreat, Elena received a surprise visitor. Ava, an old friend who had been close to her during her early career days, suddenly appeared at the resort. Elena. Ava. What on earth are you doing here? Ava. I was in the area and thought I'd check in on you. You've been so isolated lately, and I figured I'd bring a little friendly company. Elena was suspicious. Ava didn't just drop by, but she welcomed her anyway, deciding to put her guard down for the time being. That evening, during a private dinner, Julian made his presence known again. He and Elena shared an intense, charged conversation as he revealed that Ava's appearance might not be as innocent as it seemed. Julian. You're not here for a retreat, are you? You're hiding. Elena, defensive. What I'm doing here is none of your business. Julian. Maybe. But I think you'll find it interesting that Ava isn't here by coincidence either. Elena, shocked. Why would she? Julian. She hired me to make sure you're safe or to see if you could be trusted. I'm not sure which anymore. Chapter 6. Betrayal and confrontation. Over the next few days, Elena wrestles with her trust in Ava and her growing feelings for Julian. She's both hurt and curious, unable to ignore the emotions Julian has stirred in her. One evening, she confronts Ava. Elena. Ava, don't look at me like that. I know you didn't just drop by here. What are you trying to accomplish by spying on me? Ava, struggling. Elena, I did it for you. You've been shutting everyone out, spiraling. I thought you'd need someone to keep you grounded. Elena, by sending a stranger to manipulate me. That's not grounding, Ava. That's betrayal. Chapter 7. A confession. Later, Julian approaches Elena, finally admitting his own reasons for staying on. He's fallen for her despite his unusual role. He didn't expect to care, and yet he can't help himself. Julian. I knew I was crossing a line the minute I got involved, but I couldn't help myself. You're different. Elena, heartbroken. You mean to tell me this whole time you were just playing a role, trying to save me from myself? Julian. No, that's not. Elena, I came here as someone who was just supposed to follow a script. But meeting you changed everything. I couldn't stay detached. Elena, I can't believe I let you get this close. Chapter 8. The real reason. Ava came. Elena, still reeling from Julian's confession, decides to confront Ava more directly. She finds Ava in the resort lounge, sipping a martini and looking suspiciously relaxed for someone who's been caught meddling. Elena, you know, it takes a certain kind of person to spy on their best friend without warning. Care to explain what's going on in that devious mind of yours? Ava rolls her eyes and takes a sip. All right. You've always been dramatic, Elena, but this is the next level. Elena, dramatic? You're literally stalking me at a luxury resort. This is real life, not some soap opera. Ava laughs. Oh, please. I had to get you out of that concrete jungle you call a life. You were burnt out, isolated, and refusing to talk to anyone who cared about you. So, yes, I might have exaggerated my friendly visit. I hired Julian because I thought you'd take a sabbatical from saving the world if you felt safe enough to let your guard down. Elena, you hired a chef for that? I would have taken a spa day, Ava, not a stranger pretending to be my personal saviour through food. Ava, shrugging. Details. I know you, and I know you wouldn't go for anything so obvious. I figured a subtle nudge, an attractive one at that, might get you out of your head a bit. Elena, you're unbelievable. Ava's, what's unbelievable is how well it worked. You're welcome, by the way. Despite her frustration, Elena has to laugh. She sees the absurdity in Ava's meddling, though the thought of Julian being in on it still leaves a bitter taste. Chapter 9. A comedic misunderstanding. That night, Elena decides to invite Julian for an official dinner in her villa. She's set on getting answers, but she also plans to keep things light-hearted to throw him off his usual guarded stance. However, the evening quickly takes a comedic turn when Julian arrives with a confused look, holding a frying pan and a box of ingredients. Julian, I thought you said come prepared for anything. Was that not an invitation to cook? Elena laughing. Julian, this is supposed to be a regular dinner. You weren't supposed to bring a portable kitchen. Julian, deadpan. So I'm just here as myself. No spices, no garnishes. Eleanor, yes, it's called human interaction. Or is that out of your skill set? They both laugh and the tension loosens as they settle into their dinner. Julian, however, can't resist slipping into a playful interrogation mode, hinting he's ready to challenge her walls with humour. Julian, so, do I have your friend Ava to thank for making me the designated Xavier chef? Or was that your idea? Eleanor grinning. Let's just say Ava has a flair for the theatrical? Julian, clearly. And what about you? You seem a bit too prepared for all this mystery. Ever tried letting loose? Eleanor, so I'm an expert at letting loose. Just last month, I had a whole spa day. I even cancelled 2 calls. Julian laughs, so rebellious. I'm truly in awe. Their banter continues, turning serious only when Julian reveals that his initial reluctance wasn't just about his assignment. He's genuinely conflicted about his feelings for her. But instead of diving into it, he changes the subject, leaving her hanging. Chapter 10. The surprise guest. The next morning, just as Elena thinks she's getting a handle on things, a new visitor arrives at the resort, a young, handsome man who insists on speaking to her privately. He introduces himself as Leo, Ava's cousin, claiming to be concerned about the situation. Eleanor. Oh, so now we're bringing in the whole family? Is this an intervention or a vacation? Leo, completely serious. Eleanor, I know this all seems confusing, but trust me, Ava wouldn't have involved me if it wasn't serious. Eleanor, serious? I'm on a luxury retreat with a personal chef and a scheming best friend. It's not exactly life-threatening. Leo, Ava thinks you're in danger, all right? She's convinced someone from your past is following you. At first, Eleanor laughs it off, but the look on Leo's face tells her he's not joking. Leo warns her that the reason Ava was so insistent on this sabbatical was because she intercepted a suspicious message meant for Eleanor, hinting at a threat. Chapter 11. A team-up for answers. With this new revelation, Eleanor decides to team up with Julian to find out who might be after her. However, they bicker constantly, leading to some humorous exchanges. Eleanor, all right, James Bond, what's our first move? A stakeout, bugging the guest lounge? Julian, actually, I was thinking you could start by going over your recent contacts. You know, the rational approach. Eleanor, yes, boring but practical. Julian, see, you're learning. They spend the afternoon comparing notes and theorizing who might have sent the threat. As they dive into possibilities, Julian confides more about his own reason for taking the job, admitting he'd been in a mess himself, and Ava's offer was a convenient escape from his own troubles. The vulnerability in his confession surprises her. Eleanor, so we're both just escaping things, huh? Julian, smiling. That, or we're just really bad at picking vacations. Chapter 12. A not-so-innocent mistake. As they investigate further, Eleanor receives a mysterious package. Expecting a lead, she's shocked to open it and find a small potted cactus and a note reading, "For the thorns in your side." Julian can't stop laughing. Julian, now that's subtle. Either someone's got a sense of humour or they think you're prickly. Eleanor, oh, it's hilarious. And effective since I'm no closer to any answers. I should be scared, right? Julian, grinning. Only if the cactus starts talking back. They share a light moment before being interrupted by Ava, who insists she has an explanation for everything, though she's clearly panicking at the sight of the cactus. Chapter 13. Ava's final confession. Ava finally admits she had been protecting Elena, not just from burnout, but also from an ex-business partner who'd gone off the rails. The man, once close to Elena, had blamed her for the fallout of a deal and sent threats in the past. Elena: wait, you're telling me this whole island retreat was your idea of self-protection ? And I was supposed to find this comforting? Look, I didn't know what else to do. You wouldn't take my calls, and you were too proud to ask for help. And Julian here was supposed to charm you, not fall for you. Julian, smiling: what can I say? She's got that effect. Eleanor: so, all this drama, all these games, because you thought I couldn't handle one rogue business partner. Not just any partner, someone who had the gall to leave you a cactus, Eleanor. That's got sociopath written all over it. Elena finally understands Ava's intentions, and the friends laugh, the tension diffused. But before they can breathe easy, Julian warns them the situation may be more serious than they realised. Chapter 14. Julian's past unveiled one evening as they share a quiet dinner on the villa's terrace. Elena finally presses Julian for answers about his past. She's grown more curious, seeing glimpses of the pain he keeps hidden. Julian takes a long breath, his gaze distant, and opens up. Julian: I wasn't always a chef, you know. I worked in finance, actually. It was soul-crushing, but I thought I had to make my family proud. Eleanor: finance? Now that's hard to picture. Julian, smiling wryly: it wasn't who I was, but my father insisted, and I didn't want to disappoint him. We clashed often. He'd built his whole life around success. Eventually, I burned out, left, and decided to find my own path. Cooking saved me. Eleanor: you really risked everything just to break free? Julian: yes, but it cost me. I walked away from my family's expectations, but they've never fully forgiven me, and honestly, I don't think I've forgiven myself either. Eleanor: so, Ava, she found you when you needed a change, a fresh start. Julian nods. I thought this would be temporary, just a job, but meeting you, everything changed. There's a long silence, both of them feeling the weight of their own choices. Julian, though vulnerable, looks more at peace, as if finally unburdened. Chapter 15. Love and the final twist, with Julian's past out in the open, their bond deepens. The next day, Leo and Ava make plans to take Eleanor out to a nearby island for a distraction, but Julian pulls her aside before she can go. Julian: I have to say something. I was supposed to keep a distance, do my job, but I can't. I think I've fallen in love with you. Eleanor, stunned, but smiles. Well, then you're in luck, because I think I fell in love with my private chef too. Before she can fully register his confession, he leans in and they share a kiss, tender and unhurried, their connection undeniable. But just as they think they've found their moment, a new message arrives. It's a note, cryptic but clear, suggesting that someone still has unfinished business with Eleanor. Chapter 16. Facing the threat. Determined to confront her past once and for all, Elena decides not to run or hide. She tells Julian, Ava, and Leo about the threatening messages and insists they don't need to worry. Eleanor: this is my fight. I've let this shadow control me for too long, and I won't let it get between us now. With Julian by her side, she reaches out to the ex-partner behind the threats, calling for a meeting. The confrontation is tense but final. Julian stands as her support, and the encounter ends with Eleanor finally closing that chapter, unafraid and liberated. Chapter 17. A romantic ending. Back at the villa, Eleanor and Julian return to the terrace where their story began. Under the starlit sky, Julian prepares a special meal. Something simple yet perfect. He serves her a favourite dessert, and when she lifts the silver cover, she finds a small note under the plate. "Let's keep this adventure going, wherever it takes us." He takes her hand, looking at her with a warmth that makes her feel both safe and thrilled at the same time. "Eleanor, I never thought I'd find love on a retreat, but I guess I owe Ava more than I thought." Julian: "Ava might have brought me here, but I stayed because of you. For the first time, I feel like I'm where I belong." They share a slow dance under the moonlight, content in each other's arms, knowing that whatever lies ahead, they'll face it together. Their adventure ends with laughter, love, and a renewed sense of freedom. For both of them,